1 minute at a time to go from here and just sweat it out.
Hallo liebe Leute und willkommen im wunderschönen Stockholm in Schweden. Schön sonnig heute. Wir sind allerdings leider nicht da, um uns zu sonnen und ein bisschen hier am Fluss abzuhängen, sondern wir sind auf der Paradox Convention, wo Paradox Interactive seine neuen Spiele vorstellen wird. Und wir haben schon gehört, dass es da wahrscheinlich ein bisschen mehr Inhalte für die VX-Spiele gibt. Allerdings soll es auch ein paar Neuankündigungen geben. Was es damit auf sich hat, bin ich persönlich sehr gespannt. Und ich bin vor allen Dingen gespannt, wie das Ganze bei der Community ankommen wird. Denn das ist bisher die größte Paradox Convention mit 1000 Besuchern. Und da sind wir alle sehr gespannt, was da abgehen wird. Und ich schaue mir das jetzt alles mal an.
Prepare for Planetfall.
We've been making fantasy games all our lives. We've been the old Age of Wonders games back from 1999, and the Overlord games. They've all been fantasy. We love fantasy. We grew up with Tolkien. But we also grew up with Lucas and Frank Herbert and all the other science fiction classics, and we've always wondered what it would be like to take the Age of Wonders style war-focused gameplay and apply that on a science fiction setting. It would give so much possibilities. In the battles, instead of using bows and arrows and knights and magic, you use tanks and walkers and orbital strikes, and we just pull everything open for a lot more new possibilities, new grounds. Not saying that we're never going to do another fantasy game again, but I think the time was right for us. But I think it also for the people to say, okay, what more can we do with this formula? And so far it's been great. Lots of new ideas happening, and it also gives us some room to experiment. The main formula of Age of Wonders, I think, is the two layers. First, you have the strategic map, where there's also lots of tactical maneuvering and cities and where do you position your armies and stuff like that. And then there's, of course, the tactical combat, where the series is very much known for. But I think, looking at the strategic side, we've massively increased the depth there, including new economic options, the sector system that we showed you, where sectors contain pockets of certain value for a player, like an area, like a river delta or a mountain range, to the remnants of the old empire. Things like old entertainment districts or old research laboratories or military zones. You acquire there one by one, and that's really a new thing that creates new goals for the player to settle. They can trade these areas in diplomacy, so that's a very big change. On the world map, we've also added new colony management using population, which is more worked out than before. New diplomatic options, including mechanics like casus belli. So the Paradox acquisition actually has been trickling down into our game a little bit. And then on the tactical side, of course, the destructive weaponry leads to new mechanics that are focused on ranged combat, like cover, the Overwatch type mechanics, the orbital strikes, and destructible terrain. So those are real big changes. But in essence, the sort of rich worlds that you see in Age of Wonders, it's still there. The separation of these two layers, it's not only a war-focused game, but the wars are fought in a lot of detail. So the essence of the game is still there, and that's why we also call it Age of Wonders Planetfall, and not Planetfall on its own.
I've done EU for a long time. It's like I couldn't get more inspiration there. Hearts of Iron, I've been handed off to other people. Crusader Kings going fine, and the Roman time period is the one it speaks to me. It's genre and a time setting that I really, really like, and I wanted to make a game there again. And it's 10 years since we released the last one, and now we're here with a new iteration of the game. And we have like new UI system, new graphics thing. So, and Imperator is the first in our new generation of games. It's a far quicker, far more powerful engine that people will really love playing games on.
Liebe Leute, hier sind wir in der Haupt-PDXCon Spielehalle und dort kann man sich, statt nur auf der Mainstage sich Präsentationen anzugucken, kann man hier eben Hand an die einzelnen Spiele von Paradox anlegen. Und ich würde sagen, wir schauen erstmal hier so ein bisschen. Da haben wir nämlich Stellaris, Distant Stars. Das ist ja jetzt vor ganz kurzer Zeit rausgekommen und ja, genau, quasi das nächste oder das aktuelle große Add-on zu Stellaris. Da ist auf jeden Fall schon mal viel los, muss ich gerade mal sagen. Stellaris natürlich erfreut sich immer großer Beliebtheit. Da hinten haben wir noch was sich sehr großer Beliebtheit erfreut. Vor allen Dingen bei dem Kollegen Tim Lenzen, der mir freiwillig hier gerade hinterher folgt und mich filmt. Hier haben wir nämlich City Skylines Park Life. Das ist ebenfalls das neue Add-on zu City Skylines, wo es eben so ein bisschen drum geht, Zoos und sowas auch zu bauen und eben Freizeitparks und sowas. Und auch das muss man sagen, natürlich viel los, weil ist halt Cities, ne? Ist halt einfach Cities. Ein bisschen Hearts of Iron haben wir da. Da gehen wir mal dran vorbei. Da habe ich nämlich nicht viel zu sagen dazu, weil ist ein bisschen groß das Ganze. Und dann natürlich ein weiteres super beliebtes Ding, als vorne auf der Bühne das neue Add-on zu Europa Universalis da mal vorgestellt wurde, war ein Riesenapplaus da. Natürlich auch gerade für die Hardcore Grand Strategy Leute so das Ding aktuell. Und ja, wie man sieht, mehr als genügend Leute hier am Start. Mehr als genügend Leute. Crusader Kings haben wir auch da. Auch mit dem neuen Add-on, mit dem neuen Holy Fury Add-on. Surviving Mars haben wir da. Hier haben wir nämlich Community-Content primär. Zum Beispiel haben wir da vorne eine Mod zu Europa Universalis. Hier haben wir die große LAN-Party zu Europa Universalis. Und auch die Herren von Joxcast haben sich weiter hinten auch noch hingesetzt und haben da einen kleinen Fanstand gebaut. Finde ich auch schön, dass auch die Community da so eine kleine Ecke bekommt. Wir gehen jetzt gleich noch rüber in die Brettspielhalle. Da gibt es nämlich auch noch viele interessante Sachen. Da schauen wir uns jetzt auch noch an, was es da gibt. Schauen wir mal. Ja, hier sind wir in der Brettspielhalle der diesjährigen ParadoxCon. Denn Paradox hat eine interessante Ankündigung dieses Jahr gemacht. 4 lizenzierte Brettspiele zu Europa Universalis, zu Crusader Kings, City Skylines und Hearts of Iron. Und da kann man alle Prototypen schon mal anspielen, was ich super interessant finde. Hier haben wir zum Beispiel Crusader Kings. Das durfte ich selbst auch schon antesten. Ist sehr, sehr, sehr witzig gemacht. Sehr faithful, sage ich mal, zum Originalspiel. Also es ist durchaus auch möglich, dass ihr euer Pferd heiratet oder halt einfach die Erstgeborenen eurer Rivalen umbringt. Dann haben wir Crusader Kings, das ist ganz schön viel, muss ich hier gerade mal sagen. Aber hier, da haben viele Leute Bock, unter anderem ich, nämlich das Brettspiel zu City Skylines. Das werde ich persönlich auf jeden Fall auch nochmal antesten, weil ich halt Cities auch sehr mag. Und was ich da ganz lustig finde, ist, dass man quasi im Koop quasi versucht, so ein bisschen eine Stadt zu bauen, aber sich trotzdem ein bisschen gegenseitig Konkurrent ist. und versuchen muss, seine eigenen Ziele durchzusetzen, während man zusammen eine Stadt aufbaut mit diesen schönen kleinen Papphäusern und sowas. Das finde ich echt niedlich gemacht. Ich finde es auf jeden Fall eine coole Sache, hier auch einfach mal ein bisschen diese 4X-Franchise in Brettspielform zu sehen, vor allen Dingen, weil es dann vielleicht ein bisschen einfacher auch zu begreifen ist und sowas. Auf jeden Fall eine coole Sache und eben schön, dass man hier einfach alles anzocken kann. Finde ich geil.
So actually what happened was that the CCP basically closed White Wolf. There was no people left working on it. And I worked at the management team at Paradox as a head of sales and running some of the business development parts. And when we looked at acquiring White Wolf from CCP, we realized that what we needed to do is make sure that White Wolf can operate as its own entity. We realized integrating it too much into Paradox will limit the possibilities that we could do. For example, the amount of computer games that we eventually could end up doing. So we made it like a sister company to Paradox. So I moved from Paradox to White Wolf, took over as CEO of White Wolf, and then we started building the team. It's just 2 people in the start, and now we're building the team, and then we're doing the products together with licensee partners. So for all kinds of, for example, the old Vampire the Eternal Struggle cards are coming back. So that's a partner to us who's making sure that's marketed and sold around the world. Onyx Path, of course, we're already a partner, and we kept on working with them. So through that partnership, we have products coming out, and what we do at White Wolf, we're a small team that makes sure the IP and the story stays in the direction that we want, and we develop that direction, of course, and then we tell all of our partners, this is what you have to do, and so forth. And usually partners come to us this way and as well and say, this is what you need to do, and brings us a lot of good ideas. So that's really what's fun with this job, because the creativity comes so much from the people we work with. The problem is if CCP is good at doing that kind of stuff, after 7 years realize this is too difficult to do, it's too difficult for us to pick it up. But on the other hand, we have all those assets. We can't run the game without the Eve engine, so we can't really boot the game up. But we have all the concept art and amazing amounts of content they created that we are using in presentation material, and you'll see some of it actually popping up in the V5 book as well. So in that way, and there is a lot of thoughts that went into the MMO that we have continued to use. But it's not possible to pick up that MMO that they did and get it back on track. But there will be plenty of other computer games in the future, so I wouldn't worry about that. I'm really excited about the werewolf game from Focus Home, because werewolves are really the protectors of Gaia, of Mother Earth. So there is a lot of depth into that story. First of all, environmental change and destruction is something we live with today. So the IP really reflects on that. It helps you put things in what happens in the world today in perspective. And that's what we try to do with all the IPs, and what White Wolf have always done from the very start in '91 when the first book came.
The growth of the company, it's also an emotional thing, because I remember still when we were 7 people, and we've never raised capital into Paradox either. We've just grown organically, so it's been a rough ride. It's been a roller coaster, and obviously being 300 people allows you to do totally different things than we did when we were 7, and it's a good thing. But the hard thing is keeping the culture and keeping what makes Paradox a great company to work in and a great company for fans to approach. But being here at PDXCon it's one of the highlights of the whole year, because you get to speak directly to people who play our games, you get the direct feedback, and people here don't use poker face that well, so they'll tell you if something is good or bad, and I like that. I like the direct connection, and it's a blessing to be able to invite people here and just have this event, hopefully yearly from now on. I think at the current speed or even faster, because we have a lot of things in the pipeline that we haven't shown anyone yet. And if any of these things just takes off, there is nothing stopping us. Like I I have a lot of faith in this company. And if you look at the White Wolf catalog of IP, for example, we still haven't really announced anything there. And of course, we're working on a couple of things, but we don't want to tell anyone before we know it's going to be good. And then we're going to be like, look at this, come and buy it. So we have a lot of things going on already. I think our design philosophies are kind of different from many other developers and publishers. We're looking for other values in our game than most other people do, I think. But we're striving, first of all, to have games that live for a long time. It's very important for us. Replayability in the games are the most important thing. But we also say, Shams comes back to that all the time, form follows function. So we don't need all the bells and whistles on everything. We just want it to look good enough to not be unattractive, and then it should work like a clock. It should just tick and have hours and hours of entertainment for people. So we're so focused on delivering good things to people that sometimes we forget how things look as well or play. So it's yeah. So I think we're a bit different than a lot of other companies. We might need to broaden a bit in the genres that we do, like more RPG games, for example. It's a very big niche. But I think the grand strategy games can grow a lot in the future as well. I mean, if you look at a game like Civilization, it's not necessarily a simpler game than the ones we make, but they're so much better at onboarding people and making people understand how to play the game. I mean, if you open Hearts of Iron 4, it's kind of intimidating to see everything at once. And you're just like, what am I supposed to do? Even if you get help compared to Hearts of Iron 3, we still have, like, Firaxis has a lot to teach us about onboarding gamers.
One minute at a time to go from here and just sweat it out.
Ja, liebe Leute, das war die Paradox Convention 2018. Eine coole Community auf jeden Fall am Start. Alle 1000 Leute super begeistert, super gut drauf. Die Ankündigungen waren fantastisch. Mit den DLCs kann ich persönlich natürlich nicht allzu viel anfangen, weil ich die VX-Spiele nicht spiele. Aber mit Rome mal ein bisschen was Neues zu sehen und vor allen Dingen das sehr, 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 sehr großartige Age of Wonders, das so ein bisschen mein persönlicher Favorit war, hatte da schon sehr viel Spaß damit. Mit was ich nicht so viel Spaß hatte, waren mit den Spielen an sich, denn die konnte man leider nicht anspielen. Fand ich ein bisschen schade. Trotz allem war es ein richtig gutes Event, hatte auf jeden Fall viel Spaß hier, waren coole Ankündigungen, coole Leute hier. Und ja, wir machen uns auf den Weg nach Hause. Ich hoffe, ihr hattet Spaß mit unserem kleinen Eventbericht. Und wir sehen uns dann beim nächsten Mal. Bis dahin und tschüss.